Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really complex and, honestly, pretty intense geopolitical threat matrix. We're going to look at recent reports that detail a whole web of security threats directly attributed to Iran. From military clashes happening halfway across the globe to strategic moves taking place right in America's backyard, this source material reveals exactly how and why Iran is reportedly challenging U.S. and international security on multiple different fronts.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. Flashpoint, Strait of Hormuz. 2. Drones stationed in Cuba. 3. Plots and proxy warfare. And 4. Diplomatic and economic pressures. All right, starting us off with Section 1, Flashpoint, Strait of Hormuz. So the sheer scale of the immediate military response we're seeing here, it's staggering. According to the broadcast, in just a single night, U.S. forces hit approximately 140 Iranian military targets. We are talking about taking out radar sensors, drone facilities, and missile batteries. And get this, that one-night operation actually brought the weekly total of targets hit to over 300. That is a massive projection of force, aimed directly at degrading Iran's military infrastructure and pushing back on their asymmetric warfare strategy. Now, you might be wondering, why this sudden escalation? Well, it all centers on a direct conflict over one of the absolute most vital maritime choke points on the planet. Following an attack on a commercial ship, Tehran actually came out and declared the Strait of Hormuz closed to maritime traffic. In direct response to that, U.S. Central Command, or CENTCOM, released a statement assuring the world that the waterway absolutely remains open to all lawful vessels. So this isn't just some localized military spat, it's a literal tug-of-war over a vital artery for global trade. To justify these military strikes, the U.S. ambassador to the UN, Michael Waltz, laid out some pretty severe allegations from the broadcast. He pointed to tactics like deploying sea mines in international waters and indiscriminately attacking civilian shipping. The overarching narrative they're presenting here is that Iran is basically attempting to hold the global economy hostage. Because of that, the U.S. military response is framed strictly as a necessary action to protect global stability and secure international supply chains. Moving right along to Section 2, Drones stationed in Cuba. When we think of Middle Eastern conflicts, we usually picture them happening, oceans away. But this report brings the geopolitical tension right to America's doorstep. We are talking about potential threats located just 90 miles off the coast of Florida. It completely changes the homeland security risk calculus when foreign hardware is stationed that close. Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush issued a really stark warning about this proximity. He cited that nearly 300 Iranian-made Shahed drones are currently stationed in Cuba. Think about that for a second. This represents a massive physical expansion of Iranian military hardware right into the Western Hemisphere. It expands the threat matrix way beyond traditional borders and directly challenges U.S. regional security. And this brilliantly illustrates a wider issue, because it's not just Iranian hardware. Ambassador Waltz noted that both China and Russia maintain active intelligence-gathering sites, signals collection posts, and even have foreign military officers stationed right there on the island. Cuba is essentially being utilized as a consolidated hub for various foreign adversaries to monitor and potentially threaten the United States. It's a unified pushback against U.S. global standing. Now, all of this foreign presence is hosted by a Cuban government that Waltz heavily criticized. He pointed out a really stark contrast here. On one hand, everyday Cuban citizens face extreme hardships. We're talking fuel shortages and starvation. But on the other hand, regime elites reportedly enjoy private jets and private islands, all fueled by state resources. So the argument presented is that the regime is not only a threat to its own people, but a willing enabler of threats to U.S. national security. All right, Section 3. Plots and proxy warfare. This threat matrix goes way beyond geography. It's actually reaching directly into the political sphere. Following state funerals in Iran that featured banners calling for the death of President Trump, the broadcast mentioned new Israeli intelligence indicating active assassination plots against him. At the NATO summit, President Trump acknowledged this reality directly, stating that he is their #1 target. It really underscores the deeply personal and highly volatile nature of this geopolitical standoff. So, to counter Iran's use of these proxy groups, most notably Hezbollah over in Lebanon, a massive diplomatic shift is reportedly underway. We're seeing unprecedented cooperation between the U.S., Israel, and crucially the Lebanese government, all aimed at one ultimate goal: actively disarming Hezbollah. By neutralizing this incredibly powerful proxy, the U.S. and its allies are attempting to dismantle Iran's asymmetric threat network and strip away a major piece of their regional leverage.
Finally, let's look at Section 4, Diplomatic and Economic Pressures.
Believe it or not, these diplomatic battles are even playing out domestically, right in New York City. An official within the mayor's office reportedly planned a meeting with Iran's UN ambassador, but the U.S. State Department swiftly intervened and canceled it. Ambassador Waltz condemned that planned meeting entirely, arguing it would have basically handed Iran a massive propaganda victory right when the U.S. is trying to keep them internationally isolated.
Surprisingly, though, despite all the military strikes and the really harsh rhetoric, there's a complex layer of diplomacy that's still quietly functioning in the background. While a broader new deal with Iran is looking increasingly unlikely, technical nuclear negotiations are reportedly still ongoing. Now, these are incredibly specific discussions focused strictly on maintaining international inspections and managing highly enriched uranium. It proves that even amidst outright hostility, certain vital channels of communication just have to remain open.
So the crucial point is, how does the U.S. apply pressure without relying entirely on the military? Well, they use an economic vice grip. While global oil prices have reportedly remained stable at pre-war levels, the U.S. Treasury is heavily targeting Iran's finances. By placing sanctions directly on the Ayatollah's money managers and disrupting linked global luxury real estate empires, they're aiming to drain the funding that's required to operate Iran's global network of proxies and weapons programs.
So we've gone through reports of massive military strikes, 300 drones stationed just 90 miles from Florida, active assassination plots, and some pretty intense economic warfare. Looking at this entire web, a profound question remains. How exactly can the United States effectively balance aggressive deterrence with necessary diplomacy across such a volatile, multi-front threat to its national security? It is a massive geopolitical puzzle, and understanding these distinct pieces is the first step to seeing the whole picture. Thanks so much for joining me to explore it.